the link also to this site. Whatever portion has been covered is in green color. Whatever portion unit wise discretization has given, I have given unit 1, unit 2, some part of unit 3 has also been covered. Which is not covered is in black color. I will be sharing it with you. So today uh, there is one particular topic which is corresponding to strength of the structural steel, which is left out. So these all the lecture number from 13 to 17 is corresponding to that only. And it is almost covered with the same book which I have shared today morning, the title page with you. This book has been shared with you since the starting of the subject. Page numbers are being given as you can see here, that this lecture number, this topic is covered on this particular page. So you are supposed to study from that page to that page only, such as corresponding to the lecture numbers 13, as you can see on the screen. It is covered from page number 72 to 84 only. And I have shared with you two past question papers also. And within 1 week, I will also be sharing with you the question bank. So accordingly, you can decide that amongst these 10 to 12 pages, what has to be studied and what has not to be studied. Corresponding to that, let us start for our first lecture corresponding to this particular topic, lecture number 13. So I will, one more thing which I'm going to share with you. You can see I've opened the two tabs also, which is the fourth semester tab. So you can see it is visible. So lecture number 13 to 17, a folder has been made. When I open this folder, you can see there are documents which are going to be shared in this particular document from lecture number 13 to 17. So now I will close it. If you are not having any access to this, please let me know. So I have entered into page number 72, which is the first part. As it has been written here, I will increase a little bit the size more. So now you can see page number 72 to 84. Now this is page number 72, as you can see here. So we will be starting with the ferrous and non-ferrous alloys. It will be in between. Classification we will see, it will be coming in between. So iron based alloys are called ferrous alloys. Other than that, whatever we have polyvinyl chloride or we have any polymers or anything else which is not iron based is called non-ferrous alloys. That classification into the flow chart also we are going to see. So iron based alloys are called ferrous alloys, which is include cast irons and steels. First, I would like to brief you up that depending upon the carbon content into the any basic alloy. that if we shift the content of the carbon into the iron, that is going to differentiate between different types of alloys within the iron. The name is going to change according to that, including cast iron and steels, and are the most widely used structural metals, because as you can see, it has been written, the all the four topics are corresponding to, that is solely the behavior of structural steel. No other type of iron or steel is being highlighted here. So only we are required to discuss the structural steel. So that is why this particular word structural metals has been highlighted here. Steels consist primarily of iron and contain some carbon and manganese. That is the content of carbon and manganese changing in the iron is going to differentiate which alloy is structural steel and which alloy is not structural steel. Additional alloying elements, which is called ingot iron and cast iron. So if it is varying from 0 to 1%, you can see, you can put it into the category of structural steel. And as you go on increasing the carbon content, as you go on increasing the carbon content, the behavior will become a little bit brittle. The strength is going to increase, but behavior is also going to become a little bit brittle. Excess of 2% for the ingot iron and 1 to 3% silicon along with carbon is going to make it cast iron. And cast iron, you know, it is quite brittle. Strength is high, but it is quite brittle. Irons and steels can be divided into various classes depending upon their alloy compositions. So what are the different alloys which are we can add into it is going to differentiate. It is given in table 3.3 and table 3.4. So if you are going to go according to table number 3.3, you can see the classification, the percentage of carbon content is given. Accordingly, the nomenclature has been decided. Pure iron is quite weak, but is strengthened considerably by the addition of small amounts of carbon. So as soon as you add small amount of carbon to pure iron, its strength increases. Now you can go to this particular table number 3.3 for the preparation of the exams. That cast iron is going to having 2%. There are two categories: more than 2% of the carbon and 1 to 3% of the silicon. The uses are pipes, valves, gears, engine blocks. So accordingly आप देखोगे कार्बन कंटेंट जब इंक्रीज हो रहा है तो उसका बिहेवियर कैसे चेंज हो रहा है, ये आप जो यूजेस हैं, फ्रॉम यूजेस इटसेल्फ यू कैन मेक आउट दैट in which type of uses you are getting the most that is the most use of the strength. If we see pipes, wheels, gears, engine locks, इसमें strength का इतना ज्यादा रोल नहीं है. The type of strength required is a kind of durability. But if you say plain carbon steel, इसीलिए मैंने इसको highlight किया है, इसीलिए मैंने इसको highlight किया because this is structural steel, plain carbon steel. it is having optimum content of carbon, that is from 0 to 1%. And it is, you can see here, it is written structural and machine parts. This is what we require. We require the behavior of structural steel. आप अगर सिविल इंजीनियरिंग डोमेन में बात करें तो जो स्टील गर्डर्स होते हैं, steel girders can be used for flexural members also and compression members also. Flexural members are what? They are beams. Flexural member and compression member. So, and similar is the case with the machine parts. Machine parts also go through a large deformation. It is monotonous as well as cyclic. मशीन का जो वाइब्रेशन होता है, आपको पता है कितना हाई वाइब्रेशन होता है. ज्यादातर मशीन वाइब्रेशन में साइक्लिक वाइब्रेशन होता है. Am I right, students? So for taking care of that cyclic vibration, the structural steel is the only thing which can take care of it. And with this amount of carbon content into the iron, we can have a safe structural steel. Others are low alloy steel, which is having metallic elements totaling up to 5%. They have not specifically told that it is carbon or something else. It is metallic elements totaling up to 5%. Then we have got stainless steel. You might know that of which the utensils of your kitchen, home kitchen is made up of. That is called as stainless steel, which is having very close to the same carbon content, close varying from 0.5 to 0.7 carbon content to up 10% of the chromium, which gives the outer texture to the stainless steel utensils. Texture, that is the polish, and 10% that percent chromium, 10% chromium brings the, which also is responsible against the corrosion resistance. Other uses are piping, nuts, bolts, turbine blades. Then we have got tool steel. Cutter, drill bits, dies, etc. Now this is table number 3.4, where in this only a summary has been given that what content of carbon is there in which type of alloy, which type of iron. But here in table number 3.5, the discretized form of the content is given, that how much carbon, how much chromium, how much manganese, how much silicon, every material has been given discretizedly. Here we have ductile cast iron, low carbon steel. Now you can see the variation. It is varying from 0.2 to 0.95. Low carbon steel, medium carbon steel, high carbon steel. So this one close 0 to close to 0.95 is going to give us the structural steel, and these are for other purposes. You can see nowadays the bicycles are coming in carbon also. they are very close to structural steel. They are purely carbon frame. You might have heard nowadays. So there also, because the carbon increases the ductility as well as the strength. So you may go through these different types of steels where you can see less than 1%, less than 1%. Also, these even the stainless steel has been put. As I already told you that it is varying from 0.15 to 0.75. So this is also very durable, corrosion resistant. If sufficient carbon is added, what is the purpose of the carbon? If sufficient carbon is added, for quenching and tampering to be effective, a major increase in strength is possible. So why the carbon is being added? That is, whatever shape you want it to be in, it can come into that shape without the damage, without the reduction in strength in the form of a product. Again, depending upon the carbon content, different types of irons, because structural steel also falls into that category. It is only that depending upon the carbon content, it has been classified as the plain carbon steel as given in the table. Now cast iron, it is more than 2000 years old. And it is very inexpensive and a useful material. Earlier days, it used to be used solely. Not highly refined, that is why it is its internal composition is like that only. It is shaped by melting and pouring into the molds. This is used to be the process before the modern era of industrialization. Now we have got high-ended machines where the refinement of the raw material can be done extensively. Wrought iron, this is another category. Wrought iron, it is heated and forged into useful shapes. So it is a relatively better material than cast iron, because then several different types of cast iron exist. All contain large amounts of carbon, typically 2 to 4% by weight. So it is typically 2 to 4% by weight. As long as you start increasing the carbon content, a kind of brittle failure is going to be induced with the reduction in strength. If you have processed, that is why you can see, again I have highlighted here the plain carbon. This is plain carbon, its name is like that. This is its constituents, which is structural steel composition. You can say, as we can see in it, table 3.3. So we have to just see this carbon steels. We are not much concerned about manganese steels. Then one is gray iron. It is a graphite in the form of flakes. It is weak in tension, weak and brittle in tension, and it is the compression strength is higher considerably. Then we have got white iron. All these categories of iron, you may go through them broadly because it is microstructure type of explanation. In this particular subject, we don't require the explanation of the microstructure behavior. We just need the broad behavior, that where it is being used, as we have seen into the table. Carbon steels. So this is what we require. Plain carbon steels contain carbon in amounts usually less than 1%. So earlier, before this section, We have seen the different categories. Now we are discussing in detail the particular carbon steel, plain carbon steels. Let me go back to the same table where we have seen it. You can see it is one is this one. This one you can see it is written here plain carbon steel. So this is one of the categories of irons and steels. And according to the syllabus of the subject materials testing and evaluation, we are required to discuss this only. Now let us go back to carbon steels. So the variation from 0 to 1% of the carbon decides its behavior. It controls various properties, whether it is physical or mechanical properties, ductility, compressive strength, tensile strength, and it is also inclusive of limited amounts of manganese, as can be seen in table number 3.4. The more specific terms low carbon steel and mild steel are often used to indicate carbons less than 0.25%. You might have also heard the term mild steel while designing. Okay, you are second year engineering student. When you will go to third year, maybe you will start studying the design of concrete structures subject to one. So there you will see the mild steel, which consists of 0.25% of the carbon, and it is got high strength and ductility also, but to a some extent it is having a brittle behavior, which is due to the only inclusion of 0.25% of the carbon. These steels have low strength but excellent ductility. So it will continue to take load to a longer time. But after that time, they are going to eventually fail suddenly. Then we have got medium carbon steels. Medium carbon steels, a category within the carbon steels. So this is a category within carbon steel, or you can say, I will insert a box here so that it will be clear to you. High carbon steel from 0.7 to 1%. So depending upon the use, that what is the use, I don't think that zero point 0.3, because we can see even mild steel is coming into the category of 0.25, which is very close to 0.3. And whereas structural steel, when we say, I have talked of the steel girders, they cannot have 0.3 to 0.6% of the carbon. They are always going to have beyond 0.6. So they will come under the category of high carbon steels from 0.7 to 1%. So as if we go on increasing the carbon content, if we go on increasing the carbon content to increase the strength, we will lose the ductility. Now let us come to the uses and other things corresponding to this. This content I have already shared with you in your Google Classroom also. Now here we have got a discussion purely into the structural steel. Mild steel, we have got this particular content. We have got a comparison here between cast iron, wrought iron, and steel. It is a midway between cast iron and wrought iron, which is having 0.1 to 1.1% of the carbon. As you can see into the last column, it is corresponding to the composition, specific gravity, melting point, all the properties are being given here. Melting point of structural steel is going to be between. Now this is a significant property because in civil engineering domain, the questions in the exam also are going to be asked corresponding to the behavior and use in the civil engineering domain. So during fire, as far as structural steel is concerned, what are the properties required? What is going to be the melting point of the structural steel that we are going to use? That is of importance. So it is lying between 1300 centigrade to 1400 centigrade. Strength, which is again very important, which is required to be discussed. Its ultimate compressive strength is 180 to 350 MPa. Compressive strength is mainly responsible for compression members. Compression members, you know, it is columns which are having the load, vertical load from above in the form of compression. That is why this compressive strength is important, which is quite high. If we compare it with concrete, you can see we have got, that is it, M20, M25 will be having only 30 MPa. Here we are having 350 MPa. So it is very close to 10 times stronger in compression as compared to concrete. If you are constructing a column of structural steel, it is going to give you 10 times more strength in compression. And it is having ultimate tensile strength up to 700 MPa. Now it comes into the domain of flexure. जो हम आरसीसी में कंस्ट्रक्शन करते हैं, हम reinforcement किस लिए डालते हैं? Reinforcement we put for resistance against tension. And again, if you are having M30 concrete, let us assume that it is giving full strength in tension also, that is M30, which is not always possible. Because M30 is a strength which is in compression. And it is in concrete. And reinforcement, if it is Fe415, that is 415 Newton per mm square. That is its tensile strength. Let us say if it is 100% is utilized, 415 MPa. Now this is giving 700 MPa. It is double the strength of the reinforcement, although which is not possible that it can give you 400 MPa, full strength in flexure. So this is the benefit of using structural steel in civil engineering domain. Now, if you go through this presentation, you can see the method of manufacturing the structural steel. Although go through it, I will share the book also there, which is giving the content how it is going to be manufactured. This is a process that it is being extracted as an iron ore from the quarry. Then it is going to the blast furnace, then oxidation, electric furnace, pouring into a hopper. Then it is being manufactured as ingot. A completely different procedure is there. This is one category of the products of structural steel. You can see here, if I go back, escape. You can see here that we have got girders here, nut bolts here, rivets here. This is crystalline structure of the structural steel. Temperature range, as we have seen, 13 to 1400. It is solid state, the central one. Now, depending upon the constituents of cast iron, steel, this is important that these are the various codes. These are the various codes, various Indian standards, depending upon the type of uses. अगर आपको ट्यूब का डिजाइन करना है, which is made up of structural steel. अगर आपको पाइप का डिजाइन करना है, which is made of structural steel, then there is a separate code for it, which is 1239, 1914, 806. You can refer these different codes for the design of this type of elements within your residential house. IS 800, IS 800 is the code which is basically used for the use of steel girders as compression and tension members. This is chemical composition of steel. You can see here we have got copper and manganese. You can go through this particular table. Whatever content is required, I'm saying only to study that, because these are to be remembered. They come into the remembrance category. So if you have got standard structural steel, that is Fe 410, these are basically used. We have got 4 grades of structural steel. Fe 415, although we have Fe 250 also, but it is not in use nowadays. That is why it has not been mentioned here also. So Fe 415, Fe 500, Fe 500D, and Fe 600. So here you will find this is 410, which is close to 415. Then you have got Fe 500, a similar kind of composition you can have. Then we have got Fe 600. Here we have not got D, because there is one new category of structural steel, which is Fe 500D. D is for ductility. This is the behavior and tensile strength. We have already studied in lecture on 7th of April, that how we are going to consider the gauge length, how the tensile testing is being done, and this is how the curve is formed. This is how the curve is formed after the testing, which we have already discussed. So this curve we are going to discuss in the next class. I would like to give you some, if they are available here. These are the examples in civil engineering domain. Channel section, eye girders. This is the built-up section. You can see the flange is separate. The flanges are separate and web is separate. The flange is separate and the web is separate, and they are being joined using the welding. This is the four main components. इसमें हम mainly girder में eye girder use करते हैं. This is also the, you can see the shapes are also there. Produced by steel producers. तो कमर्शियली अवेलेबल जो प्रोडक्ट्स आपके पास हैं, कमर्शियली अवेलेबल जो भी प्रोडक्ट्स आपके पास हैं मार्केट में, दे कम इन दीज फॉर्म्स। आई गर्डर, अगर आप इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड स्टील बुक मैं आपके साथ शेयर करूंगा, अगर स्टील बुक आप देखोगे उसमें आपको ये सब शेप्स मिलेंगी, varying with the size and weight. So from there, whatever section, whatever you have you are getting m by z value, m is equal to f into z. अगर आपने स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ मटेरियल में पढ़ा होगा, what is the limiting moment of resistance, that is permissible stress into z, that is section modulus. तो इस स्टील बुक में z गिवन होता है, उस z के अकॉर्डिंग आप यहां से सिलेक्ट कर सकते हो कि आपको आई गर्डर लेना है, आपको चैनल सेक्शन लेना है, आपको एल सेक्शन लेना है, या आपको टी सेक्शन लेना है, या आपको सॉलिड सर्कुलर बार लेना है, या आपको एक रेक्टेंगुलर प्लेट लेना है, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द सेक्शन मॉडुलस z. व्हाट इज द फॉर्मूला फॉर z? What is the formula for Z? Section modulus. I hope all of you have dropped your attendance into the chat window. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Where when attendance has come into picture, you are able to speak out. जब मैंने सेक्शन मॉडुलस का फॉर्मूला आपसे पूछा तब तो आप नहीं बोले. What is the formula for section modulus you have studied in strength of material? Bt square upon 6. What is the formula for moment of inertia of a rectangular section?
BD cube by 12, sir.